Speaker.
Order. The Right Honourable Winston Peters.
Mr. Speaker, there is only one phrase to describe this document from National. This is a get-stuffed budget. To those wanting a home, which they can both buy and afford, to those in pain, desperately seeking an operation, this budget says get stuffed. To those wanting a job with first world wages and security, wanting education, first world, affordable and paid by the state, this budget says get stuffed. To those wanting law and order in this country and burglars apprehended, with the police numbers to catch them. To those wanting serious infrastructure spending to go to the regions and not just Auckland, this budget says get stuffed. To those retired and living on stretched incomes, even though today's boast from the Prime Minister is a result of our 66% law, to those young families worried about their family's future, the answer is get stuffed. National thinks these people are invisible. This government is simply not listening. I spend more time in the provinces in public meetings than any government member. I have more public meetings, free to the public, and not a jack-up tired audience than any government politician. We know what they're saying out there. That's why on a wet day down in Gore, I heard all about Mr. Barclay, the boy MP.
That's right. The bad
Their place was packed out. We know how they feel about the jobs and the lives they want. And tonight around this country, young parents will lie awake. No, Jerry, you've never had a public meeting that anybody remembers. Just incompetent. Can't campaign, can't speak, all bluff and bump. Tonight around this country, young parents will lie awake wondering about the future that they can provide their kids. And grandparents will worry about the future that they once had not being their grandchildren's legacy. Students will lie awake wondering if they could ever pay off their student loan and get a good job when they finish. And farmers will lie awake worrying about the bank manager's call and whether they'll ever be able to hang on and pass on their farm to the next generation. And many elderly will go to bed without enough to eat, cold, and sit there worrying about the power bill on the table, confused because the retirement that they worked all their lives for has gone sour. Now, the PM may sleep like a baby, but hundreds of thousands of New Zealanders don't, and they can't. And out in the regions and the provinces, they will wonder why they, the economic powerhouse of this country, have been sacrificed on a cross of Auckland gold in this budget. This isn't the New Zealand that we once knew. Now, our opponents like to talk and laugh about old people. They don't remember a time in this country where if you worked hard and played by the rules, you could make a good life for you and your country. You could find a decent job, buy a decent house, put food on the table, and every once in a while, take the family to a holiday on a favourite beach, lake or river. That was not a New Zealand dream. That was once a New Zealand vision that great leadership made a New Zealand reality. And we all know about the growing gap between the rich and the poor. And the problem is not that some have grown so rich, it's how so many have grown so rich. A bit like that man from Merrill Lynch, boasting he's a self-made man. He's never been a businessman, he's been a money trader, speculating against who? His country's currency. Mr. Speaker, we have seen 3 decades of economic experiment. We've seen the majority of people knowing that their lives were promised to be improved and it didn't happen. We were sold deregulation and globalism. We had to make sacrifices to become more competitive and to accept the much lower living standards of other nations. And we were told that if we took abroad this globalism, then a rising tide of economic prosperity would lift all boats. It'll improve the lives of all New Zealanders. But accompanying this globalism has been tax cuts for the rich and growing inequality for the rest. This is a chart by decile, by income decile, 10 decile numbers of New Zealand home ownership. I'm not saying the wrong way. You're precisely right. What should be up is down. And what is down, mate, should be up. It's upside down. And Mr. Bennett, when we take power, we're going to turn the right way up and get rid of you first. You are so right. Thanks for helping out. That's the chart. 9 deciles, all down, the top 10% way up. Thank you, Mr. Bennett. I knew, even by a Freudian way, that one day you might make some sense in this house. This is a get-stuffed budget. Every commentator should look at this budget and say, it contains spending details adjustments, but are they adjusted upwards for the population growth? Because if they're not, the numbers are bogus and propaganda. It's a get-stuffed budget. Now, perhaps the best backdrop to this budget was the announcement yesterday by Paula Bennett. This was a sign of utter desperation. Proof that the Emperor from Merrill Lynch has no clothes. A policy written on the back of an envelope, thought up in the back of a ministerial car on the way to the airport. She announced that if people would leave Auckland, she'd give them $5,000 to go. Just last week, Mr. Key said, go to WINS. Go to the WINS office. Yesterday, Paula Bennett said, here's 5,000, now get lost.
Exactly. Yeah.
Here's 5,000, get lost. In short, no matter how many generations you've been living in Auckland, she wants you to get out of there so she can make way for an immigrant. And that's what the Maori Party supports. That's what they support. Oh, yes, they do. Look, Mr. Garnish Nana is an immigrant. Mr. Garnish Nana was on Radio New Zealand this morning and he said this. This is what he said, because he's an honest man. He said, underlining everything is the rapid population growth. Not my words, he said it. He said that immigration plays out in all areas right across the board. And madam, if you haven't got the guts to say it, I have. I'm standing for New Zealanders who know what this country used to belong to, that they spent decades, dare I say it, 100 years to build this country, and we won't have some soft in the heart and soft in the head person waving out to me from the gallery like that. On immigration, this man, who is an immigrant, said this. It underlines everything, and then it's the rapid population growth. His words, not mine, and to say that it's a matter of racism shows just how unpatriotic and un-New Zealand some people are. You know, every year now, net, the population of New Plymouth, or 68,000, are coming to New Zealand. Every year now, the population of Wanganui, or 34,000, is going straight to Auckland. And pray tell me, who's housing them? Where's the transport? Where's the railway lines? Where's the jobs? Where's the schools and where are the hospitals? Answer that and then you can wave your hand. Every other party has welcomed that development, but one party has not. It has said for years that this is a looming disaster. And here we have a budget that's totally focusing on trying to fix up what? Mass immigration problems. We have got the courage to say it. And out there, hundreds of thousands of New Zealanders are beginning to understand. You watch these polls go. And thank God they are. We are not going to have the sellout merchants acting for foreign banks and foreign corporates running this country anymore. There were all the gestures. But the real message was to all those with legitimate concerns in Invercargill and Kaitaia is get stuffed. Where the 10 bridges? Where the superfast broadband up north? Where's the first metre of the superhighway to Puhoi to walk with, let alone Wellsford? Right? Where's the cell tower coverage? Just absolute bull dust. Mr. Speaker, this is typical of every Bill English budget. Just spin. Packages, gestures designed to create the illusion that some serious thinking went into the budget. But the real message from this budget is to all those, whether you are for Farm Act, mental health and apprenticeships, way short of demand. They could all be doubled and still be far short of what's needed. We built more houses in 1973 when our population was 3 million people than this government is building with 4.6 million. And you tell me why we'd bring in 68,000 more to need houses as well. That's lunatic stuff. No other country in the world voluntarily takes that level of immigration, and nor should we.
Order,
This
Mr.
budget
Bennett.
has no integrity.
Order. Mr. Bennett, order. If Mr Bennett cannot control himself, I don't mind a reasonable amount of interjection. It's a heated debate, but when it gets to this level and it's continuous, if the member does it again, I'll ask him to leave. Sorry to interrupt the member.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. This budget has no integrity. There is an elephant that's so big in the room, no one else can get in. Adding 68,000 per year is inflicting enormous cost on New Zealand. It's massive immigration, impacting every government service, health, education, welfare, transport, infrastructure. Record immigration is adding all of these things into this budget, and the rest of New Zealand is missing out. It's nearly all going to Auckland. Government ministers and their cronies may not be suffering the erosion of the quality of life, but New Zealanders know what is happening to them from what they see and feel every day, and one party in this parliament intends to respond to their concerns. We have to build new hospitals now because of that. We've got to build schools, houses, public transport, hire people to keep running them just to maintain current standards, and some people think it's good. Well, my challenge to them is, well, why don't we double it and make it twice as good? Because lunatic logic works like that. That's what it works like, and that's what we're seeing right now. The consequence of doing what we are doing is seeing a decline for most people in service across this country. Rural health, capped, no funding at all. Lousy figures like $10 million over 4 years, calling that progress. Lengthening hospital lists. You know, today there are waiting lists to get on the real waiting list. You've got waiting lists in our health system to get on the real waiting list. As for the police, grossly underfunded, grossly undermanned and underwomaned. Here's the point. Only 1 out of 10 burglaries gets investigated. 9 out of 10 don't get any attention. Crime pays under National. If you're a victim, National's message to you is, get stuffed. Conservation. There's the Prime Minister gloating about the numbers. The Conservation Department is stretched out like a Shanghai, can't do the job. How many will come here if this country is flattened with tyre tracks and rubbish strewed everywhere? And so much of this country tourism is by people wishing to visit New Zealand on $20 a day. How dumb can you be? So much of this country's tourism is being bought here by foreign airlines, staying at foreign-owned hotels and creating far less jobs and wealth than the government boasts. Look at provincial and regional New Zealand where they go and tell me it ain't so. Our natural estate is at risk. The department is massively underfunded. And as for the cutting of carbon emissions, well, this is being done by a minister whose credibility on this issue, self-confessed, is zero. As for public finances, this is not prudent fiscal management. Engineering a surplus when you cut core services, this is not a surplus. The manipulation of the public finances is now so gross and shameless as to render any claims to balancing the books or reaching a surplus as hollow. The real truth is that the quality and quantity of New Zealand life and government services is in decline. The budget is silent on what really matters to New Zealanders. Yet the Prime Minister is already touting tax cuts of $3 billion in next year's budget.
Amazing.
We need to be on guard. The Prime Minister won't come clean. What he will not spell out is what does tax cuts actually mean in terms of reduced quality of life for New Zealanders. This is a government that ignores foreign corporates sucking this country dry, earning over $600 million a year in this country and paying 0.38% tax, like Tegel chicken. Is that a fair policy? 0.38%. Facebook, right? What do they pay? They paid less than Jerry. They paid $42,000 last year. This massive multinational corporation in New Zealand paid $42,000 of tax, and the National Party backbench laugh.
Yeah.
The laugh's on the other foot, sunshine. They're going to come for you, and very soon. The New Zealand voters won't put up with this anymore. They won't take this chilling. They won't take this fast on the lip, slow on the hip type of behaviour anymore from you. They want you to get up in Parliament and say something. Do something. Actually, put your people first. Put your province first. Be a voice for the regions. Not come here as a bunch of Tea Party clones being told what to do aping what the Prime Minister says, getting your head patted like an ACT Party member and thinking that's worthy account for your pay. And as for the Auckland and regional policy, in this country today we've got two economies. One's Auckland and the rest of us. A total failure. Yes. Will someone ring a bell so Jerry can have an idea? Someone ring. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for ringing that bell. Jerry needs an idea. He can't get there by himself. The total failure to apply common sense in policy. Let me say what we're going to do. We're going to provide the infrastructure investment for roading, rail and strategic assets to support regional growth. We will bring in royalties to the regions where what you earn there from your extraction, no less than 25% will stay where it came from. In Southland, on the East Coast, up north. We're going to have new initiatives to disperse government agencies, not just to Wellington and Auckland, but right around New Zealand. Why shouldn't they be? We've got computerisation. Why is Auckland and Wellington getting them all? And we're going to change the Reserve Bank Act so that the currency reflects we're an export-dependent nation. And to all those students graduating, prepared to go to the critical shortages in our regions, we're going to say to you, go there for 5 years and we'll get rid of your student loan. Make no bones about it. We've got a policy. Our policy is about economic growth. Today's budget, nothing about economic growth, no plans at all, just steady as you don't go nowhere. He said they had 3% growth. Where's that in the budget? It's 2.8, and that's wrong. Nowhere in that budget document is 3% used. Worse still, this is a country where the economy is financed on foreign money. And the outcome for that is always ask Ireland. Ask Ireland. They had 3 decades of magnificent growth and then utter collapse. Now, Mr. Bennett can laugh because that's probably the smartest thing he ever does. And as for housing in Auckland, what a gaping hole. As for housing in Auckland, no answer whatsoever. Here's a message to Mr. Prime Minister. Mr. Key, people don't choose to live in cars or garages or tents. They don't choose to live under bridges or live out in the cold. Foreign speculation has come in here, bought sometimes 50, 60 houses, one person. The housing affordability has collapsed, as that chart shows. Yes. I want to close by saying this. The global outlook is not good for this country. It is very uncertain. And this country just needs 1 or 2 things to go wrong, and we're going to be in serious shock. Even now, Australian forecasters are saying that we're not going to make 2% growth, more likely 1.7. Then what is Mr. Carter going to say? Sorry. What is Mr. Bennett going to say about that then? I want to close by saying this. There is one party that for a long time has forecast what would happen to New Zealand if we went down that path. It's still here. It is growing faster than any other political party. We have a Facebook right now that is 60,000 and rising. Yesterday's debate where the Prime Minister made a fool of himself has got a 171,000 strike in less than 24 hours. You can laugh, Cass, but I know it's a nervous laugh because very soon the message that New Zealanders want to hear is, are you back? New Zealand first. And the answer is most certainly. We'll tell you not to, we won't tell you to get stuffed. We'll tell you to get enrolled, get out and vote. And when you do, the possibilities for this country are magnificent.
The order. The honourable